If you're not world class, you're not going to work because everybody else is.
Things you experience here, it gives you some grit.
So we think that living in LA is the same as living in Oklahoma, and it's not.
Yo, Yasmin, how are you?
Norah, how have you been?
One of the biggest questions I get now is like, hey, I'm from, insert international place here, and then how do I move to LA? And being from Ohio, I don't know how to speak to this, but I do know some people who might be able to speak to this. Introduce yourself and some of your favorite projects you've worked on. Go ahead.
Cool. So my name is Chris Edem Atsu Swanzy. A lot of people call me just Edem. That's my middle name. That's also my Ghanaian name, so I like to go by that. Some of the favorite projects I've been, grateful enough to work on. There's a film called Kill a Prophet, which I'm really, really excited about. It's a fun feature film I got to shoot. Also, a few years back, I did a music video actually for the Hamilton mixtapes. I was in one of the videos for that, which was awesome, and that was just it was a great experience. So yeah, those are definitely some of my top tier projects I can, think about right now.
It's only borrowed, it's a matter of time before the checks all come. But immigrants, we get the job done.
What is your story coming to America?
Yeah, so when I was younger, my family and myself, we went from Ghana, which for those who are not familiar, it's in West Africa. And we migrated over to London. And so we were there for a while. And then my dad, around that time, that's when the Berlin Wall was coming down. So he knew there were, a lot of changes happening in that sector of the world. He was trying to find ways to go to other parts of the world, specifically the United States. And he came across the chance to go into it's called a visa lottery. So he saw it in the newspaper, and it's funny, whenever I go see him, he always shows me the newspaper clipping. And in that newspaper clipping, it was like, hey, here's a lottery to come to America. And so he submitted his name for the lottery. Instead of winning just one slot, he won 5 slots for that lottery. And in my family, it was my dad, my mom, my brother, my sister, and me. So he won the lottery, and all 5 of us went from London to America. And we came here, we landed in the amazing New Jersey.
So real quick, also, how do you pronounce your name?
My name is pronounced in English Thomas Ohrstrom, but if you were to do it officially, it would be Thomas Hoink van Papendrecht Ohrstrom.
Wow.
Yeah, every audition, and my birth name is Thomas. It's like actually Thomas, not Thomas. So there's that moment in the beginning of every audition where it's like, oh, hey, is it Thomas? What's that about? So, which is an immediate icebreaker, which is a total joy, but yeah, that's the official. Sunny Side was a show I got to be on NBC, which was incredible because it's almost the entire cast is immigrants.
I have told your father exactly what was going on here, and he's intrigued. He will come in person to do a complete financial analysis, and if I were you, I would make sure every single dollar is accounted for, and have some Frisca in the fridge. He likes Frisca.
And then Space Force, hands down for me has been a project that I had the privilege of being involved with.
So hurry, right?
The nubs won't generate enough power to change directions. Ypsilon will burn up. Never mind. Stupid.
How did this guy get hired?
I'm the foremost aeronautical engineering theorist in Belgium.
Oh, well, I didn't realize that Belgium had a space force.
What is your story coming to America?
Born in Bollnäs, Sweden, moved to northern Denmark, southern Denmark, eastern Denmark, then to Princeton, New Jersey, back to Denmark. Mother's Dutch. Then to Mercer Island, Washington, which is by Seattle. Then I went to undergrad outside of Seattle. Then I moved to New York and went to grad school. Worked there doing some off-Broadway work and work around the East Coast for about 5 years. Loved it, but I knew pretty early on in New York that I was there for the training because I felt that was where there was some really great training, and then they were pushing the envelope there. My dad, when we immigrated when I was a kid, he said part of the contract negotiation was green cards for his family. So I got that through my father's job before I even turned 18. So I'm a resident alien, a green card holding resident alien, and I am so incredibly lucky to be that because I didn't have to go through what is a lottery, luck, constant applications. I didn't have to go through renewing a visa every 2 years.
How does a green card work? Like in terms of like, does it expire? All those other things?
Yeah. So a green card is on a 10-year cycle. And whenever you need to renew it, you have a complete background check run. You have a criminal background check run, all that stuff. Then you go in, you have to do your biometrics, which is fingerprints for all fingers, picture. I think they also do pupil now. And then you renew every 10 years. It's anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500. It's a bit of a tense time because, as we all know, if somebody wants to find something on you, they will. Not hiding skeletons anywhere. That would be a problem. But it just, you always, I'm careful about it. I've had to renew it once, but it's a 10-year cycle. And the only thing that is different really between somebody who has a green card and a citizen is you don't get the ultimate privilege that America presents as the ultimate privilege, which is a vote.
Hi, I'm Yasmin Kassim. I'm an Australian actress currently living in LA. In Australia, I worked on a couple of different TV shows and films. The most prominent one is probably Neighbours. That's what people in the States usually know because there's been a bunch of people on it, like Chris Hemsworth and Margot Robbie and a couple of other people. And then since I've been in the States, I've done a movie called Jungle with Daniel Radcliffe, which was pretty cool. I look a bit different in that, so you will not recognize me.
Did you find any opportunities to act in your home country before making the move to USA? And how did you go about doing that?
As an Australian, you have to get a certain amount of work to be able to come to the States, and then you have to book work to come to the States. So for me, I always wanted to be an actress in Australia. Like, I am Australian, but at the same time, I don't look Australian or what people might call Australian. So it was really tricky for me to get opportunity in Australia, not only because it's a smaller industry, but because you just don't see people that look like me, especially when I was coming up and trying. I did everything from going to casting director workshops, going to acting classes, any networking thing I could go to, any acting awards, like our version of the Emmys or the Oscars. I would buy tickets and I would go and I would try and meet people and I would send my reels to like production company. I would do anything. Like, I was going gung-ho for a very, very long time until I got the opportunities that I did, and I definitely worked really hard for them. Nothing ever fell in my lap. I wish I was that person that had that story, but it didn't. I worked really hard for every little thing that happened that has brought me over to the States.
So what is your story coming to America? What was that like?
My agents were the ones that actually said, we need to get you American auditions. Like, nothing's going to happen for you in Australia. And I so wanted to believe. I was like, no, like, I'm going to be huge in Australia. I can do it. And they were like, trust us. We rep a bunch of diverse people. You got to get some stuff in America and then you'll have a bigger voice in Australia. And I'm really glad actually that they had me come over here. You know, they pushed me for US auditions. I actually booked my first US job whilst on Neighbours. So I went straight from Neighbours to my first US job. And it was very intense, but at the same time, like, I don't think people that are not from here understand how intense LA can be. It's very exciting, but it's so different, and the people are different, and the way of living is different, and America is such a different country to Australia, not just in terms of the industry, but in terms of just your day-to-day life stuff. Like, when someone asks me to cut a check, I'm like, a what? Like, we just don't use so many of the things that you guys used here. In saying that, I have found so much opportunity here, and as much as to the outside eye, people only see what you actually book, right? But in terms of just like the rooms I've been in for like getting callbacks or producer sessions, and the people I've gotten to meet and the relationships I've established here for like the future jobs, I would never ever have been able to meet those kinds of people just like kicking it in Australia and hoping for the best. Like, it took those jobs bringing me over here to really like get me in that mix, you know? And I've still managed to work in Australia. I worked in Australia last year.
My very first acting experience was at home, was in Belgium, and I would recommend it to anyone who is still out there in that country and wants to move here to pursue an acting career, to definitely start already at home. Even though the industry might not be as big as Hollywood is, there's always, you know, a local theater or something that you can do in the acting world. And I would definitely recommend it also just for you to see if it's really something for you, because There's a lot to sacrifice. My very first acting job in Belgium was when I was 18, 19, and it was through a girl who was working on her thesis. I'm Belgian. I was born and raised in Belgium, but I'm Moroccan. My parents are both from Morocco. So there was not a lot of, color on TV or on stage. So she was trying to put more color out there. And so I became a part of this group of 10 people who all had different, ethnicities and different background. We were pretty successful. We did 3 great theater shows in a very small town somewhere in Antwerp. It was so successful that eventually the Belgian National TV made a pilot out of it. So I also had my first TV experience in Belgium, which was great. Yeah, so my way of coming here was through marriage. I'm in the process of getting my green card, and I'm a California resident right now.
So first of all, how long have you been working on Disney cruises?
So I've been working on Disney cruises on and off for about 7 years. It ended up actually being my first professional audition out of college, and I just happened to book it on the first try, which was crazy. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, so I've been doing it for 7 years, started in 2012.
Explain to us your story of coming to America to work on Disney cruises, because it's kind of different, right? This isn't exactly something where you're working on US soil, so you're kind of skirting around that. Explain that to everybody.
It's a little bit interesting because I actually don't have any sort of work permits that allow for me to work in the United States. If you were to be working in the United States, you would need a B1 visa. That's not something that I carry when I work for Disney Cruise Line. I get issued something through the ship called an I-95, which allows me to get off on US soil. But working on a cruise ship, you're actually in international waters. So that's why you can have so many people from everywhere. Obviously, if you're from a specific country, your country might require you to have a visa to work in the United States. But because of working on a cruise ship and being Canadian, I don't necessarily require one until I get to the ship. So I get issued one after my first week. I go through an immigration process where I speak to CBP, and they issue me my I-95. And it has an expiry date and everything. It's not just like a free-for-all, now you can stay in the country forever. It has all the details on it, and yeah, so that allows me to get off the ship when I would like, but obviously I have to report back because I like my job. The visa process is tricky just because it can be, from what I've known from performers who have tried to get green cards, being from Canada, trying to be actors in the States, it's an expensive process, it's a tricky process, and it's one of those ones where you don't really want to mess it up.
So it was important to Google about LA. And then I found this master's degree, and I'm like, that's what I want. But not because I thought that would open doors necessarily, but because I wanted to have an academic way.
What did you decide to major in?
Oh, so I majored in acting for film at the New York Film Academy. I came here on the 6th of October of 2015 at 12 a.m. and at 9 I was in school. I did not have time to go in, to Hollywood Sign before going to school. I was like very, very focused. Now, talking about immigration.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very important. Especially people like me, that have never been to the States ever before, not even on a trip. We do not understand the concept of what the United States is. We don't understand really what federalism is.
Federalism is the process by which 2 or more governments share powers over the same geographic area. It is the method used by most democracies in the world. While some countries give more power to the overall central government, others grant more power to the individual states or provinces. The US is just that way. We grant powers not only to the federal government, but also to the state government.
I would start knowing my rights and the Constitution and things like that just as soon as you come to America, because I just came with a lot of fear and a lot of things that I didn't know. And now that I took a government class, I feel very different about it. It was better to come to LA because my uncle was here. So he gave me some asylum, for a bit. If I would have had, let's say, again, the opportunity and not have anybody here, I would have migrated to another state first that's near to LA. Why? Because it's just cheaper and you get the sense of it. So it's not just about, okay, I'm going to go there and then next week I'm going to start auditions. No, it's really, really a pacing thing. The move is not going to be the same for everybody. It depends on the situation. And even if you come with nothing, I came with 2 pairs of luggage, $70 in my pocket, 1 semester paid, and then my uncle, he fed me and he paid the rent. I had nothing else. I didn't even have time to sell my car in Guatemala. Then, I was lucky and it was my time. I met my husband and he financed me. But it doesn't mean that it's going to happen to everybody, nor I didn't get married for that reason. I married because I was in love.
Los Estados Unidos es un lugar lleno de personas peligrosas y locas. Recuerden que se deben casar con un hombre blanco y millonario.
So what was your family's experience immigrating to America like?
Obviously, it's different for every family, but ours was really, it was unique in its own way. So my dad was a professor and a nurse in London and Ghana. And my mom was also a teacher. But when they came here, the credentials didn't really carry. So what we found was we were living with my mom's sister, my aunt, in New Jersey, in a very crammed duplex. So it was basically 2 bedrooms. My aunt and her husband had a room. Me, my brother and sister were sharing a room. I think my mom might have been in this too. And then my dad, actually, he was working night shift at Walmart. He then also was studying during the day so he could get his credentials, proper to make sure that he could start teaching in America. And he was working another shift at another place just to make sure that, hey, I have my family covered for our portion of the bills. So yeah, that was definitely a difficult part. Being a kid, you don't really realize all of it because you're kind of just still, seeing what's in front of you and you don't understand the full scope of what's happening in the world. But as I grew and I realized what he was doing, I was like, oh, wow, he put in a lot of work.
And so how is he doing today? Obviously, that was a long time ago. And yeah.
He's doing great. He's still teaching. He's given a lot back to his home country because he didn't have a lot of education growing up. So he provided a network to provide books to those kids over there. Because a lot of those kids, especially him growing up, they would have to travel, 3-4 hours just to go to school. So in those villages, he's been trying to get more and more books to keep educating those kids because that's how he got his education growing up.
So what is casting like for you? Does your nationality or accent have any pros or cons?
So it's a bit of a twofold thing. So there's the first part where I'm American. So I was raised here for many years. So when things come up, I learned the American culture as a kid. I grew up in America, so I understand a lot of those things. So those things are pretty cool. When I get auditions, I can relate to those things. I do also get a sense of my last name and also my appearance. When people see me, they know or they assume that I'm from another country. Not everybody, but there are those percentage that say, oh yeah, this guy is not an American-born guy. And so in those instances, I've had the auditions where they're looking for whether it's Ghanaian or some type of African accent. And that has helped me with certain bookings. But at the same time, I don't like to just think that's the only place that I can live. There's so much to each of us. And I know for myself, there's broad parts of myself and deeper parts that I can explore, whether it's as an American, as a Ghanaian, as the time I spent in London. So all that's still in me. But I'll give myself permission to look for all of that.
Perfect. Couch is perfect right there.
We do not need this couch. Now take it back right now.
Sorry, man. We just deliver shit.
Pros and cons of having family away. I would say growing up and even now, there's a lot of family that I don't know. But luckily with technology, I've been gradually meeting some of them over the last few years. So that's been really tough where growing up, there were a bunch of people I knew that were like, oh, my cousins live here, or I have my aunt and my grandfather over here. I didn't have any of that. I really just had my parents and my brother and sister and my mom's sister who was like a few towns away. And so in developing, that can also at times really play a tough place because you don't fit in anywhere. So those are some of the cons that I experienced. The pros is, growing up in New Jersey in America is in itself, it's a gift. My dad had a vision for his family and his kids. And so I'm very grateful for that, because if it wasn't for that, the opportunities that I've had since then, the man I've been able to become through that wouldn't have been possible. So
what is casting like for you? Does your nationality or accent have any pros or cons?
Yeah, so casting for me, since I don't have an accent really at all. I grew up speaking English because I have an American father. Norway, not a lot of people have a very heavy accent because we're very influenced by American culture and American television. So even my friends that are full-blown Norwegian have pretty clear American accents when they speak. But so that never really gets in the way. I can fake a Norwegian accent if anyone ever wants to hear it. If I'm in the audition room and they need an accent, that's my go-to. I can do a Norwegian one. You know, when you're in an audition room and they're like, say like an interesting fact about you, I always go to the Norwegian thing because people think it's like fascinating and exciting to hear about. So it's been a big point of topic in my career. I also recently booked a project where I get to speak Norwegian. And so I got that off of Backstage, and they actually reached out to me looking for a Norwegian actress who could speak fluent Norwegian. And so that's been great just because like it's a unique language that not a lot of people speak over here. So I actually booked something from being Norwegian. So that's really cool, I think.
Hey, babe. You're here so early. Mwah. Go grab a seat and I'll be right with you.
What are the pros and cons of your situation?
When you're growing up, and I still felt this way in Australia in my early 20s, like being different felt scary. Being different was the worst. I was like, oh, I'm the only brown one, my hair's curlier. Like I never felt like it was a plus. And coming here, it really, really does. So I started doing this thing where I would like go in, and depending on the vibe, if I knew them or not, I'd be American or Australian, but I would always leave Australian to make sure they were really meeting me. They know the accent is there or they wouldn't have you in the room. I think that is a huge plus. And the con would be obviously just being so far away from home, and sometimes your visa situation can be like slightly restrictive in regards to how much you can earn in terms of money that's not acting or whatever. Like it's all very tricky, and you have to be really careful and abide by the rules. And something I do want to say about America is like I have found my diversity here. Like it's taken me a long time to embrace the fact that I'm a brown woman. It took me ages because in Australia, I never ever felt like I was the leading girl ever. And it makes me like emotional. And like I've come here and I'm like, no, there is a chance. I can be the lead. I can do it. And I've written a show in quarantine, and I've realized that it's the things that make me different that is what is going to help sell this show. It's what makes this show special. Whereas in Australia, the things that made me different, I was like, oh, I'm not the blonde beach girl. I'm a brown beach girl. And it just never quite fitted the brief, you know? Like in the last couple of years, things have changed a little bit, but there's much more diversity over here. And it's, on a personal note, also helped me find myself more, you know, and feel more empowered by those things, and also find my voice as an actress and a writer. The things you experience living in a place like LA, I mean, I've experienced some tough things in Australia in the industry, but the things you experience here, it gives you some grit, you know, the way you get treated sometimes, the way, especially being a woman in the industry, I've just become a real tough, like I feel like I'm a survivor at this point. And I think in Australia, I was maybe a little bit more naive. I was also younger. People love to like shit on America, but I have to say this has been a great place of opportunity for me. And it's also been a place where I feel like I have found people that are like, yeah, this is me. What? Like it's a very like American and a very LA thing to be like, yeah, whatever. Like this is me.
After I had come back to LA, I got to a place where I quit. I stopped. I moved away. I went back to Europe, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. Going back and then coming here, I was like, okay, well, how do I bring part of my authenticity, and what is that? And I realized, well, you're completely fluent in Danish. Why don't you try to use that? And then in a matter of 1 month, I had a job translating Danish for Google, which was the best support job I'd ever had, where I was all of a sudden working remotely, and like I could fit it in. If I needed to go to an audition in the middle of the day, I could, right? And I could just come back, or I could bring my laptop with me and all that other stuff. And then it occurred to me again when I met the key master, as I call my manager, Abby McDonald. She said, why don't we get you on camera doing your dialects? And then maybe also a scene where you're switching between actually English and actually Danish. That literally unlocked everything. I have had, in the 2 years that I've been back, I've had 4 auditions. One of them, led to both Sunnyside and Space Force. because the casting office vouched for me because I could do the dialect natively, right?
Wow.
I don't know why I didn't think of that. Like, I really don't know that. So yes, it helped like immensely, but I was getting in my own way for years and years and years. And then also now that we have a much greater focus on diversity as an industry. It's weird for a pasty white guy to say this, but I fall under that, right? Because diversity is culture. Diversity is feeling, opinion. It's not only religion, gender, race. It's a lot of different things. We are beautifully complex beings.
It was always sort of a little bit of worry in the back of my head when I would go to an audition, or if I wouldn't get the gig, I would think it's because of my accent. And I start feeling that it was making me a little bit self-conscious, till I start talking about it with some friends of mine who were really super surprised that I was self-conscious about my accent, because they thought that was something that was just part of me, and you're in LA where everyone is from somewhere else and you're different. So I just start seeing the positive side, I guess, from my accent, and just I think I just started focusing on my good qualities, on my acting itself, and less. And I did, take voice classes just for better projection and all that.
Any advice for international actors willing to come to America to act?
There are a lot of great opportunities happening in other parts of the world as well. So not to just feel that this is the only door to find a place to work. I mean, if you look at even the information behind like Bollywood, Nollywood, those are booming industries that are looking to compete with places like Hollywood. So if you're in one of those areas, look to maybe see what's happening over there as well. And even with what happens in London and the training over there, there's a lot of opportunity that can seek to begin there and then lead to greater opportunities, whether it's in America or whether it's in another market. Just accept what's there, and once you honor that moment, it'll open up, I believe, other bridges for your next moment.
The distance from here and home is a little bit tough, I'm not gonna lie. It's different, it's not like, okay, you can't come, I'll come to you in 2 weeks. And you will never get used to that. I will tell you, if you're homesick, if you miss your mom, your sisters, I don't think you will get used to it. Of course, what can help is phone calls, FaceTiming. I do that more often now too, but it really doesn't change. I've been here now for 5 years and I still miss them.
Any advice for international actors wishing to come to America to act?
Be honest, do your research, know everything you can about what you're trying to do, and do it legally. Don't try to do something illegally. Don't enter the country and say that you're going for vacation and you're actually going to do a short film that'll pay you in cash. Don't, because if you get caught doing that, again, it's not going to set you up for success long term.
There is a neighboring country called Canada that has a very similar immigration process. So you can come here on a visa for 2 years, and then you can go to Canada and be on a visa for 2 years. And then you can come back on a visa for 2 years. It's just the border crossing, right? And you can, if you have the fiscal ability, you can be a local hire. More than anything, what career do you want? Or rather, whose career do you want? Figure out what they did, emulate them, and then ask yourself, look, at some point the real world's going to have to deal, and the reality here is, if you want to do this for a living and you want to come to Los Angeles or any of the other major hubs to do this, you need to make sure, and this is not a pat on my own back or yours or anybody here, you need to be world class. If you're not world class, you're not going to work, because everybody else is. Understand that success here, like you just said, takes about 5 years to figure out how it works, and about another 5 to make the career function in a way where you can count on being net positive year in and year out as an actor, because you've found different ways to make money. There is one thing that will determine your success in this, and it's not like I've got the key to the kingdom or anything, but it's the same thing that's going to succeed in any industry and in life. What are you willing to put up with? As a 29-year-old, I moved to Los Angeles into half of a bedroom with only a carload of stuff, $500 in the bank, and a job at a grocery store, and then worked up from there, right? So what are you willing to put up with? What is this going to mean for you? What are you willing to sacrifice and forfeit in exchange for, and this is operative, a chance? Nothing is promised. It's a chance. You have to make that decision with yourself. And then for anybody who's discouraged by that, keep this in mind. There's nothing in the world that's easy to do anymore. There's no promised career. You're not retiring from the same company you started working at 18. Decide what the sacrifice is going to be, because you're going to have to make one.
If I had any advice for someone that's not American that wanted to move here to act, I would say maybe come here first. See if you like the place. Hang out with people that live here. Don't do the touristy things. Try and connect with actors and creatives that live here so you can get a vibe of what the life is here. And I would say, in terms of immigration, you got to work. You've got to work in your country and you've got to book. Value the connections that you make. They are the people that will book you on jobs that will help you with whatever visa you end up getting. They will help you in the long run. Never, ever underestimate the short films, the small roles, whatever it might be. Community and connections are such a huge part. And then also know when you come here, have your expectations in check, because it's very, very competitive. Whether you have a successful pilot season and you're changing in your car 5 times, to whether nothing's happening and you're just like trying to live in America for the first time, both are 2 very intense things to juggle. And never underestimate how far away you're going to be from your family or how expensive it is to live here and to try and become a working actor.
Any other acting advice you'd like to share?
Just love the craft. And if that means you're doing like poetry nights in a small black box, or you're meeting up with a group of friends just reading a play, staying in the process of what you love will pay its own dividends in ways you can't even imagine. And so that's kind of how I feel about it. Not so much the tip, I don't know if that's going to help anybody, the tip of like, oh, hey, you got to go talk to this person or this person because they'll get you into this door, but more of just the craft itself will keep getting in the door if you stay in the work.
I think that what's really, really important is just networking. Just from my own personal experience, I have booked more stuff through people that I know than just like, going out for like a cold audition.
Any other acting advice that you'd like to share?
Don't be in competition with anyone. I really believe that if you build everyone up around you, you're going to go a lot farther. Like if someone's constantly booking things that you wanted to, be a part of, but you're not getting it, be happy for them and know that like your opportunity is coming. I would just never hold anything back or like be in competition or be jealous of someone, because there's really no point to it. And you're just going to be like a sad, angry person if you.
Yeah, it's like Sith Lord shit. Like I'm a Jedi. I don't do that.
Self-development is very important. It helps you be a better actor. Knowing about money helps you too. Your nutrition, your health, your mental health. All those things are very important, especially for immigrants, because we are the target for mental health. And this can suck you up. So you have to learn how to prioritize.
There's so much time in between auditions and so much time in between working that you need to make sure your head is on straight and that you understand how to navigate that downtime, because that will be the key to longevity. And I love that, you said that.
If you do get the chance to actually have work permits and be able to start auditioning and working in the States, I suggest finding a job, if you like your Joe job, so something you do 9 to 5 to pay the bills. Get a job doing something that you really enjoy, so that you are not just slugging away doing something that you don't love and then what you really want to do isn't working out. One of my first Joe jobs, I worked at a cupcake store. The hours were flexible and it was easy and fun, and I met some cool people, but I still enjoyed it. So even when the auditions weren't coming in, I was still feeling kind of okay. I didn't leave every day feeling super down on my luck.
The best thing that you can do for yourself is practice doing self-tapes wherever you are. Set a schedule, do 3 a week. Practice finding the sides at like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. the night before, working on them, and then waking up and say, I have to have this done by noon. And then be vigilant about it. You got a favorite movie? Why don't you print out the script? Do a few scenes. Doesn't matter what the role is. It could be a female role. It doesn't matter. It could be a male. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. It's about you and how you hone your craft, because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that puts the brick and the mortar together. Look up audition tapes. You will be shocked, like, just because that's where you see people allowing themselves to really go for something.
You need to be like, when people ask you things, and especially I suggest this for women, you need to be smart. Know what's going on. Read the news, read Deadline, have interests. Don't just have your interest be your career. So many people that I've met that are like the best connections I've ever made are people I've met out in the surf. I can't believe the auditions I've gotten from someone be like, "Hi, you Australian?" Da, da, da. And then it just becomes a thing, and there's some producer that lives in Mount whatever. But you have to really be like a whole package. There's nothing worse, nothing smells worse than someone that just wants to talk about the industry the whole time, and the whole time they can tell they just want to serve themselves. One of my favorite sayings is, you have to be interested to be interesting. And that goes for everything in life, but I also apply it when I get into the room for castings. You know how you can be a little bit like in your head and not, okay, I'm going to perform. It's like, why don't you make it not about you? Like, why don't you just take the pressure off? You've done the work, let it go, be interested in like what they're up to, how they're feeling, what they're doing. Don't annoy them with questions, but I mean, energetically, you can feel the difference between someone like, can I show you what I can do?
Yeah,
like,
and you're like, whoa, okay, easy. Like, we just want the fucking waiter. You know, you're just gonna say, can I take your order? Like, that's it. Like, if you're in your actor brain, it's not gonna work. Okay, now that we've interviewed all of our international actors, it's time to go over a few key takeaways from what they said. Number 1, don't lie on your citizenship forms or your visa forms. Tell the truth always. For more information, check out the US State Department. 2, if you can, try visiting the place you want to move first, see if you like it. 3, your language, nationality, and culture is an asset and a part of you, so be yourself. Hollywood is rapidly diversifying, and your acting profile should reflect all the aspects of you. If you can speak another language or do accents/impressions, consider adding this to your reel or having a separate reel altogether. 4, visa hopping with Canada is an option if you can secure the visas. 5, do what you can in your hometown first. If you're gonna move here, you gotta be good and you gotta be working on your craft. 6, know your rights. Be sure to understand the local laws of where you're moving. 7, lastly, take care of yourself. Financially, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is you gotta do, keep your mental straight. Alrighty, that about does it. Thank you so much to my guests for making this possible. Thank you for watching and subscribing and sharing and for all of your comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Good luck.